Hey, this is Justin from Ask for Entertainment. Thank you for checking out my episode here with Brandon on Live and Loud. We talked about the music business, the photo business, and everything rock and roll.
Welcome to Alive and Loud, guys. Thanks so much for joining us. Today we have a very special guest. It's Mr. Justin Press. Justin, thanks so much for joining us today, man. I appreciate it.
Brandon, thanks for having me, man. It's a thrill for me to be on it because I remember when you and I were talking about this when you were beginning this program and you were trying to figure out ways to make it, what's the lack of a better word, professional.
Yes.
So it's where you've gotten to has been amazing, man. So I'm proud of you and thanks for having me on. It's a big deal for me, so I appreciate it.
Absolutely, it's a big deal to have you on, man. And like you said, we've talked back and forth about how to get things going, and you're somebody that I greatly admire in the industry, and I don't take this lightly, but there's a lot of people out there who would not give of their time to really explain things and help somebody out that's wanting to get into it. And for you to have done that, it meant a lot. So like I was telling our editor, this is kind of a very full circle episode right here.
Mm-hmm.
So it's great that you're on, man. I really can't thank you.
Well, thanks, man. Listen, there are a lot of giving people in the business, and they want to help you out because either they're getting older and they want to see people coming in that are going to kind of help fill that vacuum as they leave or whatever. Or, but the people who don't, either they don't know how to help you. I don't think they're just being rude. I think it's easier to say I can't, other than I don't know what to do. Or there's always, it's like any business, there's the fear factor. Looking over the shoulder, kind of thing, like, oh, what is this person? It's like, what do you want from me, kind of thing,
Right, yeah.
But I'm glad to help you out, man. I usually try to do whatever I can for everybody. I just within my limited capacity.
For sure. Well, for Justin, those of you who don't know him and are not familiar with him, that's why we're here today. We want to kind of peel back the curtain a little bit and let you in on people you might not know, but are very, very critical to our industry, and some of the experiences that you might have at a concert or maybe on a cruise. So in line with that, I want you to tell people who are watching and listening right now, tell them what you do and what you've been up to the last, couple of years.
Well, I mean, okay, let's do from COVID forward, because that seems to be a thing where everyone's kind of in this lull, but I wasn't, thankfully.
Yeah.
You mentioned cruises. So I've been working with ShipRocked, which is Ask for Entertainment. We've been doing that cruise now. This is our 12th year. We had it scheduled to go out in 2021, but we pushed it from January to May. And then when we saw things were happening, we pushed it till now, this January 2022, and everything looks really good and golden. And we got a full lineup and stuff. So I've been working on that, man, just handling the social media stuff. We came up with the podcast. We came up with all these kind of like virtual live stream, kind of just to get their community together, whether it was games or just silly things, or then we started bringing on the guests. We started bringing on bands who've been with us before, and now going forward, we're doing all the bands who are our next lineup. So I've been doing that, hosting that, helping write and that kind of thing, and then the team's been producing it and everything like that. But and then also doing work for Silver Spear. Silver Spear is a security company. And we handle the tour security for Shinedown, Smith & Myers, Nickelback. We've been working with this band Charming Liars. We had Post Malone on, was a client, but that one is now gone by. But we're always looking for new acts to work with. But we also handle about 75 events a year.
That's great.
And that includes everything from like art festivals to EDM festivals to cruises. We'll do a couple of rock cruises in 2022. And just handling everything from artist security to crowd management and risk assessment, everything like that. So I've been working with them, again, handling the socials. Again, we were kind of thing there. John Garani, who's kind of like, John's kind of the main point guy for Shinedown at Smith Myers as far as security, and also like he's been recently tour managing. Came up. He's such a quick thinking guy, forward thinking. He started coming up with everything like, hey, let's get our audience involved. Let's do Netflix watching parties together where we're having people come and chat. We start bringing the special guests, and like, just for example, we watched like the BBC Dracula series, and we brought in like Dr. Stoker, who is Bram Stoker's like great nephew. And he's like the most prominent like vampire writer now in the world. And he came on and was like kind of like the guest host curating this thing for. So just this really
Great.
cool ideas, and out of that
Yeah.
spurned another podcast for the security company. So just working on that, man. So we were staying busy, and then my own stuff, just got back in rock journalism, started writing. It's funny, I hadn't written in like 3 or 4 years, and then I got linked up with this publication, Max Alt Rock, and it's a digital thing, but the way it's laid out reminded me of all the magazines I grew up on, like Circus and Cream and Hit Parade, or all those magazines from the 70s, early 80s. So I was instantly drawn in. Some friends made some connections, and then the first thing I had out of the box was an interview with Halford for his book. So I'm like, okay, well, jumping right into the deep end of things, talking to Rob Halford. But I had known Rob, so it made the conversation much easier. But it still doesn't stop the daunting task of trying to take his book, this amazing autobiography, and turn it into something that's like pleasing and digestible. So yeah, that's what I've been doing, man. I didn't stop. I wasn't like a lot of people, and even when people that I work with or in the industry were stopping and kind of like making a vacation and stuff, my mindset was like, just make it a 9 to 5, get at your desk and do something, man.
Yeah.
So cause it was important, man. And plus, as you get older, man, your working years it's got to wind down, and you got to maximize that time you have.
How important
so that's what
for you to do that? I mean, like for me, I know, when shows stopped, you can't take pictures anymore. So I was like, what the hell do I do?
I just moved to New Orleans when it all happened. I was in some interviews for some really great gigs. And then 10 days later, after I moved here, man, boom, it hit. And we're like, wow, okay, well, New Orleans shut down. So I just ran the French Quarter, when not a soul is in it, is an interesting place to photograph. So I just took advantage of the fact that, like, the landscape I had.
Yeah.
Started getting my bike riding and just I went kind of back to nature photography and the things I wasn't doing, because I shelved it all for live or event photography and things, and then kind of went back to doing that, and I really enjoyed it. And you start going, and I'm doing a lot of like canine photography. I just start realizing, man, God, I really enjoy doing this photography just as much, if not more, than the other things.
Yeah. What you were posting, man, last year was just really awesome to watch, because there was so much that I'd never seen. And the best thing about photography, is the eye of the beholder. And the things that you wanted to capture was great.
Well, Brandon, the funny thing about last year, and even this year to point now, is like before COVID, I sold all my gear. Because I was switching. I was going to switch systems, and I was going to go, okay, I'm going to move from what I was using into another system. And then since COVID hit, I was like, wait a minute, that's a big purchase, and I don't want to make any large purchases right now because of work and lack thereof. So basically, dude, everything's been shot on an iPhone.
That's wild. But that also shows you where we're at with technology, because
listen, man, if I had the 12 Plus, I'd be like, yeah, I don't know if I need a camera.
I know,
I'm okay with this for most of my stuff.
Yeah.
But I love the process of, I love obviously very full, grainy, detailed photos. So I will get a camera here shortly, man. Just be like, hey, I'm going to bite the bullet, and then I'll eat ramen for a while if I have to, in order to get the system.
There's nothing wrong with ramen.
Nothing wrong with ramen. That's right.
Add a little
so that was that. Obviously, shows are picking back up now. So for going forward, I'll talk to some bands and see if they're going to need my assistance or be on the road. So basically, what I've been doing, dude, is we call it talent stacking. So I went like everyone else and got the COVID compliance officer stuff. I did a bunch of Saints games last year, being a COVID compliance guy.
Oh, cool.
That's interesting. That was interesting. You want to talk about hostile people when you ask them to please wear your mask, and it gets ugly quickly. But you get an idea of what people were kind of the pressure of all of it and what it meant to people's freedom being taken away. So I did that, and I got my proper security license, and then, took all these like risk assessment courses from the World Health Organization. I just boom, stacking, man. First started CPR, just because I'm like, hey, if I go to a band, I want to say, look, man, I've got all these certifications. It helps your tour insurance certainly looks kindly upon that. But if not, dude, there's a lot of festivals. I'm going to go out and do some stuff with a thing called the Music Experience. Basically, it's a big gear tent. At all these, like, either the Wimmer festivals or whoever. I basically go and do the A&R for that. So going and getting artists, bring them over the tent, getting them in with their gear guys and things like that. So just I'll be working one way or another in business, and obviously as the cruise gets closer, but then that's, I mean, I know it's just summer, dude, but fall seems like it's right there.
I'm ready for it.
Yeah. So gigs, and then it's funny because I'm like, I see my friends all buying tickets online, like they're excited. I'm like, and all these tours and shows are dropping like crazy. I'm going,
Yeah.
that's great and all, but you guys, hold on. We're running out of the gate instead of crawling. Slow it down, slow down. We'll see what happens. Let's see what happens here. Some of the
Yeah.
shows have gone on so far, haven't heard any incidents, no mass outbreak, no spread. So it's been good.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm a fan at the end of things, dude. But the only tickets I have anything to right now that I actually bought the tickets was Psycho Fest up in Vegas.
Oh yeah.
Because it's all the black metal bands from Europe that I never get a chance to see, and I'm a big fan. I'm like, I'm gonna go to Vegas and see this. It's caters to 3,000 people, and not 65,000.
I considered. I almost bought a ticket to that.
Yeah, so I was just like, man, I got to do it, and then I'll go see shows. I think that New Orleans is a funny joint, man, because we obviously get the festivals, like Jazz Fest. The Voodoo Fest this year's called off, so they're bumping that to 2022. But we don't get much in the way of actual shows. It's a weird place to route for bands because they can go to Houston and you think, well, it just makes sense to come here. Well, they actually end up going to like Biloxi. Mm-hmm. If they have to make a stop, they'll go to Biloxi because they can feed off Alabama, Mississippi, and Louisiana for an audience, and then head to Florida where they can really clean up. So New Orleans is a weird place to route. We get some shows. We get a lot of like the alternative shows because a lot of their fans here. But as far as metal, man, I mean, we had like, I'm being a metalhead. I'm like, well, we had the In Flames, Megadeth, Lamb of God show coming here initially. Now it's no longer on their scale. I think we have Gojira. That's like our only metal show coming. Yeah. Which is great. It's fantastic. So I'm sorry, I don't know why I went off on that tangent. I just tend to do that. So you're gonna have to rein me in, bro.
All right, Justin. All right, so
2019. 2019, I was on the road within this moment.
Yep.
Before that, I was booking shows through Texas and marketing and going to settlements, doing shows just in Texas. But we were doing everything from clubs to theaters to to amphitheaters and things like that. And festivals. We were booking all the shows, and then went on the road within this moment as the photographer, video guy initially. And I'm more of a photocentric guy, dude. I'm not a video guy. I really need to learn it. I really do. But I've always been just a stills guy because the stills are always kind of what.
Well, video's kind of daunting. It can be very daunting.
Well, dude, the funny thing is I was talking to Jason from, he has in the pit. We were talking about this, and we were talking about the video thing, and I didn't know video when they asked me. I said, can you do video? I said, no, but I can learn. So I basically went and got a Sony system because my friend Zach, who shoots for like Nat Geo and Nike and all that stuff, was like, I'll give you a crash course, but you got to get this camera in order to do it. So I went and got like a Sony, and I was shooting Canon, got a Sony, and then he taught me like in 3 days how to shoot like video. And then on the road, I learned Premiere Pro, like at night in my bay, just learning this shit, and I made enough videos to where like Maria was happy with it, but she wanted to bring in someone a little bit more video centric. So I moved over and took over the director of security role after that. So it was a pretty full 2019, man.
Wow. You might have been at the tour that I last saw them at in Evansville, Indiana.
What show is that? Sorry, man.
I know they blend together. Yeah. It was at a little, well, not little, but it was at
let's say yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
what I love about In This Moment shows is that from the publicist to everyone there at the venue that works with the band, they are amazing to work with, because some bands it's 3 songs in the pit only, but they're like, yeah, do 3 songs up in the front and then just roam around the house, just don't get anybody's way. And I'm like, you have no idea how awesome that is. There's so many different perspectives that you can catch. And that's I love that. And I get why some bands, don't do that. But with Maria specifically, all those wardrobe changes, man, 3 songs is never enough with that band.
No, Maria wants you to get the whole thing. It's a visual show for a reason. But the great thing about them, yes, their camp's super easy to work with. They're very inviting. But what the great thing about In This Moment, actually being able to rove is great, because the last song, Horror, when they've got all the balloons and the cryo going and she's up on the podium it's
Yeah.
a great visual for the big wide, like giving the whole perspective of the crowd and everything going on.
Mhm.
That's the only way to capture chaos. You can't capture chaos when you're, 5 feet from your subject.
Exactly.
And that's what another thing with me, man, is like doing photography for concerts and tours. Like I've learned really now more to pay attention to the audience. I'll get the band shots you need to get,
Yeah, yeah.
you know, but I love shooting the audience because that's what rock and roll is the audience. It's not, they're performers on stage, rock and roll's in the audience. So the
Absolutely.
faces and the emotions, and these people have been waiting months, they paid their money, they've been queuing up, and this is their hour and a half to fucking really let loose. And it's a joy to take those photos, man. And a lot of times I will go to the person, I'll go, hey, look, I got a great photo of you, give me your email, I'll send you the photo.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
like, oh my, what? I'm like, yeah, it's fucking great, this is going to live forever, show your grandkids.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I was cool once.
So what is your favorite part about capturing the live experience? I know we talked a little bit about, getting the audience, which I am a stickler for audience shots, but
Yeah,
you had to pick out like
my favorite, dude, like, are we talking about someone who works in, or just as a concert fan, or as a concert person who works in business?
So what are two of your favorite moments as a fan and two of your favorite moments as somebody who like photographs a show?
Well, I can tell you, like anything is like, especially in high school, um, the days leading up to the gig are
Yeah.
like Christmas Eve every day, right?
Yeah.
So there's that anticipation. So I think it's sitting down. My favorite part of going to a show now is like, if I like a maiden show where I know I'm super stoked. I'm 54-year-old, but I'm an 18-year-old punter in my head, right? I'm
Yeah.
fucking with my buddies. We all get together. We don't see each other except one. We used to do this, me and my buddies, when we were the Rush crew. We wouldn't see each other all year until Rush came to town. Then the wives or whoever laid low. We all went out, and we were able to act a fool for 4 hours. So my Rush moments with my friends are always the best. And then I think going to a gig, Maiden or whoever, and buying that first beer of the night when you're going down to your seat, because it's the first of many, and you're going to be hoarse by the end of the first song because you're singing so fucking loud. Those are my favorite moments. Yeah, the show is great, and you wait for that one song, but I'm like, it's the anticipation, man. It's the same reason why, like, people in bands still pace. They can be on their 50th show of a 70 show run. They should be clockwork. They're nervous. They're pacing, man. It's that anticipation. What's tonight going to be like? So I think that is my thing. I think that is the thing that really still kind of, it's the juice, man. The juice is just as a person, a human, it keeps your blood flowing. That anticipation, like, it's still great, dude, to go, I'm still excited about something. This feels so fucking good.
Yeah.
So, but as someone who works in a business, I love them pulling in, or the day of show, and it's early and no one's really there. People are kind of slowly trickling in, moving boxes in and things like that. Or the trip on the bus when you're the first one up and you still got 50 miles to go and you're just watching the countryside pass by with a cup of coffee. Those quiet moments.
Yeah.
Those are great. I love the show itself. I love like being there and like watching the show happen and making sure everything's cool and just watching the fans. And obviously I'm looking for different things at that point. I'm looking for, like, making sure security's covering their points or whatever.
Mhm.
But I still enjoy that aspect. I still love the fact that I'm part of this thing that's entertaining these thousands of people. And yeah, man, it's really good. But then there's quiet moments you have after all is said and done and the bombast is gone, and you just kind of all there quietly, like after the show, enjoying a piece of pizza together, like it's the last meal you're ever going to have. It's just that kind of like that camaraderie of all that. So yeah, those are the things I like anyone else, man. But you know what? I think that working, whether it's doing the cruises or festivals or doing the road stuff, booking shows, you just sit there, and I'm not being cliche, man. It's an absolute pleasure to work in this business. It's a fucking privilege. And anyone that fucking like complains and bitches about this and that or whatever, I mean, people have their own little things like, well, I'm not making the money, or my per diems offer. I'm like, yeah, you signed up for this for a reason, And so, yeah, man. So I love it all. I really do love it all. And I even the hard times, man, I sit there so many times. Like, I think back when I've had some downtime for the last few years ago, man, why the fuck did I act that way that one night? Why did I let someone get under my skin like that? I should never have done that. I should have just relaxed, taken a few breaths, walked away, come back to the situation. But you're human, man. Get caught in the moment.
Yeah.
And that's what happens too when you're around creatives, man. You're always caught in the moment because they wear their emotions on right on the top of the surface of their skin,
Yes,
and
they do.
you feed on it, you know. And I might be some security guy or whatever, but I'm still a creative soul, you know, being photography or writing or whatever. So I understand the process of that whole creativity and of it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best. That's one of my favorite things about the live music experience is that we can just go, like, I pull up to a show and I'm like, man, I know I've done some research on how the band is gonna perform this song. I kind of know what the lights are gonna be like, but like I don't know what the feeling is gonna be like. That's the one thing you
Yeah.
cannot
Yeah.
anticipate or
Yeah.
replicate is the feeling of being in each moment. And I have so many I look back on, and as a creator, as somebody who's I lost count of all the shows that I've been at and taken pictures at, but
Hmm.
every time it feels like you're birthing a new experience that you're going to remember decades
Yeah.
from that show. Like, do you have like one particular show that stands out above all the rest?
As far as what?
As far as like, it could have been anything you've worked or anything you've ever personally experienced.
Well, I can tell you, you can be like, look, the first show I ever went to was Kiss Destroyer Tour in 1976. I was 9 years old. My dad dropped me off at the front door of
Wow.
the arena. My military family, my parents were very like, they taught us,
Yeah.
be here on time, do this, do that, don't talk, you just kind of, after that, my brother started going to shows with me, but he was older than me, but I had to buy the tickets. So I had to mow a lot of lawns as a 10-year-old. I was like, but I saw all the shows, man. I saw Zeppelin, I saw Floyd, yeah. I saw all those bands that people go, man, what was that show like? I'm like, I was 11 years old. All I remember is this amazing, but I couldn't give you the details. I can tell you, man. Okay, I'll tell you the one show as an audience member I went to, and I physically cried. I fucking cried. Was Sabbath's first reunion tour in '99, wow. Probably 2000 at this point. They came through Dallas. I got tickets to it, and it's like prior to that, I've been living in Los Angeles, and I listened to Sabbath every day at work. We're all Sabbath, but I had to go back to Dallas for family reasons. So I'm there with my girlfriend, two other friends, and they come up out of the stage, and the sirens are going for War Pigs. Pantera opened up, and Incubus, I think we had as another opener. Like, and I was just like, and Pantera enough at that time was like they were firing on all cylinders.
Yeah.
They were going, but you're like Pantera, it's Sabbath. And they came up, and man, the tears streaming down my face. My girlfriend at the time looking at me going, just kind of smiling like, you're such an idiot. I'm like, I'm just crying. And it's just like, it was the best moment. It wasn't even embarrassing, dude. It was just amazing.
I've had those moments where I've cried at shows. I don't give a fuck who's watching.
And there's still times. Yeah, as far as like a creative, it's when I went and shot photos. There's bands I've shoot photos of. For some reason, I have more photos of them than anyone. Be Rob Zombie, Hailstorm, and Cheap Trick seem to be kind of mine in this moment, of course. But Cheap Trick seems to be kind of the band I have more photos than anyone. And it's being someone who like worshiped them growing up as a kid, and now shooting, and then like just catering to my lens in a lot of ways. Like, oh, there he is. We're gonna go and pose for me, because they know I'm going to give them a good result. Mm-hmm. It's still a pinch me moment, man. No matter how many times you meet these people or talk with them or work with them, you're still kind of like, man, both of my parents have passed away, man, and they knew my love of all this. So I know they're probably looking down and going, he's finally living these little weird dreams he had. Good for him.
Yeah.
And it still tickles me, man. I'll give you a great story. So about 3 years ago, went to a Maiden show. I became friends with some of the people in the camp, and the people who do Shiprock, we were gonna do a land-based metal festival in Mexico. It went away. It just was too logistically a headache.
Yeah.
Anyway, well, one of the people we were considering was not Maiden, but we wanted to do Steve Harris's British Lion.
Yeah.
So basically I talked to Ed, who was one of the band assistants, and I was in the beer room. They have a beer room backstage, and he got me past that. Then he kind of disappeared on me, and got a bunch of my buddies were with me. And I'm went there talking to them, and then walks around the corner, Steve Harris. He's like, so you want to put me in a festival? I'm going, What? I look at Ed. I'm like, did you really just fucking do this to me? Put me on the fucking stove? I said, yeah, Steve. We like to get you in this. We really like to talk to you about being part of this festival. He's like, well, where do I sign? I'm going, man. It's that, in my head, I'm going, it's that easy. I'm like, well, you know, this is the plans. This is what we're looking to do. He's like, yeah, fine. But let's just do it. Let's just do it. And I'm talking to him for a few minutes, and my friends are kind of all looking at me, and we all love Maiden growing up, man. They're all looking at me like, you're talking to Steve Harris like business stuff, and I'm thinking, yeah, it's crazy, right? And so when he left, Steve left, and it was just a great moment. I was kind of like, you know, I'm usually I'm pretty maintained, and I'm pretty calm and chill in front of people, man. But even then, you're just kind of like, God damn it. And then they weren't giving me a hard time. They were just like, I can't believe you just did that. I'm like, I can't believe I just did it either. I was put on the spot, and you either fucking sink or swim.
Right.
So yeah, dude. So those moments, right? There's moments still that capture you, man. I've been fucking doing this shit since I've been working, and I'm like anyone, man. I worked in record stores since I was like 16, and then when in college, I worked in record stores, and I worked on the college radio, and then afterwards, I worked on a record label, and then I went and decided I'm gonna be a school teacher for a while. Why did I go do that? And then I got in the live business by the flukest of ways, just a fluke, man. So I'll tell you how I got in the business. So if people are listening to this, they can go, God, it must be so hard to break in. I'm like, no, it's all, there's a lot of ways to break in, but my way was really unique because I went with the same girlfriend who laughed at me crying at Sabbath. Well, there's a new venue in Dallas that had opened up, really nice place. And REO Speedwagon and Styx are playing. We're both children of the 70s. We love it. Let's go see it.
Yeah.
Well, we go, man. It's one of the new theaters, like the seats recline and like a cup holder. Like, this is proper, man. This is like a theater. Yeah. And the band comes on. Everything sounds great. Everyone's super polite that works there. They're all dressed up with their vests. And I was like stoked. So I was so stoked by the experience that I wrote a letter to the venue the next. I never do that. I'm like, man, I just want to tell you, it's such a perfect. Well, like 2 days later, I get a call. I said, hey, my name's Laura from the Verizon Theater or wherever it was. Next Stage, it was called. And she's like, hey, we got your letter. I said, yeah, it was a great show. She's like, you want to come in for an interview? I'm like, for what? She's like, or we need a production runner. I'm like, what the fuck is that? She's like, well, just come in. Went in, dude. I interviewed like a day later, and like that night, I quit teaching.
Nice.
I went, this is going to be for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What did that entail?
First person.
Like, what was your production runner? I'm assuming that's just like if the band needed like water.
It's basically you get on set, you're on site there. Basically, you do pre-shop. Like, hey, you get your rider. Okay, the band wants these things in the dressing room. You go the day before, buy all the stuff, liquor, food, booze, whatever.
Only the green M&Ms.
Yeah. So you do that, and then like the day of show, you're in there, and whatever the production needs from you, hey man, do this, go pick up our driver here, go to, hey, can you take the artist here? You need to, hey, can you go to Guitar Center, go get this? You just fucking great shit. You just give it to me. Like, you're like, Dave Navarro needs ginger root before he goes on. I know where I can get it. Just fucking great. Like, hey man, this is like inside shit, Yeah. And dude, I work with artists at the record label, but not like in this manner.
Right.
Totally I would get them to a promo at a radio station. Dude, done. They're gone.
Yeah.
This is like, hey, we need this. This is intrinsic to the show. And you're around and you're hanging out. And then there's instances where like, I've been doing it for a while. And one day we had Robert Plant. He was playing with Alison Krauss doing the bluegrass thing. And he was in the theater. And he'd see me working for him all day, for him and his crew. And then finally at night, they were looking for beers and everything. Food and beverage had closed down. I scavenged and found enough beers for his whole friends in his dressing room. And I go in there and he set the beer down. And he goes, hey, why don't you stay and have a beer with us? I'm going, this is why I quit teaching. So, dude, it's just great moments, man. But you just treat it maturely because that's one of those jobs that also taught you to stay stealth, man. Stay invisible. Be necessary, be there when you need it, but don't be that person.
Yes.
And it got me from there, dude. What happened is the guy who was the GM of the building came to the back where all us pirates were, and he goes, hey, who back here knows Excel? I'm like, I know Excel. He's like, you're my new assistant. And I went through the doors to the administrative side of things, and that's where my career went. Yeah. It's random, dude.
God.
Well, dude, but it also just how random shit is, man. I mean, seriously. I got friends that have run into the similar situations how it all began. They just happen to do the right thing. You know, a friend who was a production runner did the right thing for the right band, and they went, "Hey, go on the road with us."
Yeah.
You know, it's just kind
That's
of
the
this.
one thing that's crazy about our industry is that it is very right place, right time.
Absolutely.
And like
Dr. Hook song, man.
oh yeah, and it's like what you were talking
Dr.
about
John. Dr. John.
at
Sorry.
the beginning. You know how like you were kind of encouraging me and trying to kind of helping me get everything going. And I, you know, getting into concert photography, I also had an individual who did that for me as well. You know, I was just like, hey, I'm kind of interested in like what you do. Like, you let's get some coffee sometime. And then like over time, it's like, hey, come to a show with me. So we did, and you know, I ended up never taking classes, or I just bought a camera and I went head first into it, and I obsessed over it and kept going and kept going. And then,
dude, I have no formal education in photography. I've never taken a class. I'm basically a fuck with the camera till you figure it out, get the settings you like. But I've always had an eye, and that comes from reading all those magazines as a
absolutely
preteen.
yes,
and looking at and people are like, Lisa Robinson, who's that? I'm like, Lisa Robinson was like photographer for Korean Magazine, and like going, how do you know that? I'm like, because I started reading these magazines when I was like 7.
yeah.
You know, but it's like when I first started going to shows, you're just in awe by it. But dude, after a while,
Yeah. Oh yeah.
when I was young, I started paying attention to rigging points and like, you know, production. The production was always so interesting to me because I'm like, this looks like a massive, like, this isn't crazy. How did the hell they set this up in 10-hour kind of thing?
Oh yeah.
So it's always just that. But so yeah, dude, I became like about having the eye for thing. And I think street photography is really good too for helping people hone their eye.
Definitely.
But you mentioned going to a show and shooting all these shows. Well, it gets to a point, man, where you challenge yourself. Like, I'm going to go to this show and I'm going to shoot with one lens and not a zoom. I'm going to shoot with a 50 or a 35 and get the best shots at that focal length I can. And really, man, that's where it's at, because at the end of the day, you can shoot, there's a machine gun scatter, not a pandemic, a disease where people just,
that's awful.
they're going to look through all those files. I'm like, man, just take your time with that one focal length. You're going to get that one great shot that's going to exceed everything that the people in the pit with you were shooting.
Yeah.
By a long way, man. And that's what so I was talking about switching systems earlier, and this is just two photographers talking here. It's like, I've been shooting Canon and I shot Sony, and I look at us and I'm going, you know what, man, why not switch over to a Leica M? Why not shoot in a film-like manner with a camera that acts like a film? It's digital, of course, but it acts like a film camera. But the pictures you get out of it are like nothing you're ever going to see from those brands I just mentioned. And no offense to them, they're amazing brands. They make amazing gear. And always, it's always, dude, look, at the end of the day, you and I could get out there with a Canon Rebel TSI and just have the eye to get the shot. We don't need the gear, but it does help. Yeah. There's some things about the gear that you can't do and that you need.
Yes.
And that will lend itself to you. So that's one of those things, like, how can I stand out? Because there's a million guys that do what we do and they do it very well. But how am I going to stand out? How am I going to get that one shot where you go, okay.
You know, my
and then
example, like you said, you know, challenge yourself. That right there of Billy Joe of Green Day, I shot that with a 50 mil. He jumped out on a amp head, like off the stage onto the amp, stood on top of the amp. You're talking about a very narrow pit where there's like 20, 30 other photographers in it. This was my biggest show to date, and I was leaned all the way back, and I was just like, I know I could visualize where that focal point was because I knew I moved it up. I moved it up, and I was like, I'm just gonna think that I'm gonna trust myself.
But you're also shooting like it was like a 1.2 or a 1.4.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if that was a zoom, it's a 2.8. You may have not gotten that shot. It may have had a little blur to it, man. It would have hunted for your focus.
Yep.
So yeah, man. Again, those shots, that shot right there is like the best shot you're gonna have of that night, and I'm sure you shot maybe 100 photos.
Oh yeah. I probably shot way more than I should have. Biggest show I've ever had at that point. This was like 7 years ago. I had no idea what I was doing. I was in way over my head. But I
was going to tell you, man, let's go back to the business and concerts. And what's changed the paradigm for me personally is doing the cruises.
Yeah.
Because the cruises are very specific. They're very niche. But when you get 3,000 people on a cruise that pay a lot of money to come on, and they're going to get a big festival there, but that right there shows you their dedication to it. And they are music
Absolutely.
people, especially on Shiprock, are music fanatics. There's very few people come on just to come on. They come on because their music, like every band means something to them. And the community there is so incredible, dude. It's my favorite experience, because it's a little bit of a working vacation, but and I'm we work all year for this one thing,
Yeah.
so hard. But it's just the experience of dealing with these people who now become friends because I see them every year. They come back. I mean, there's people obviously come back like their second or third year. There's people have been in like the 10th, 11th year. I'm going, good God. I mean, and you're so grateful because you're like, man, you get 1 to 2 weeks a year, maybe the vacation, and you take one of those with us.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And you do everything you can to make sure it's great. But so that right there, it's like anything. And it's like the way that festivals now have changed the paradigm of touring for a lot of bands. I'm like, a lot of fans will go, well, I'll just go see the festival and see all these bands. And I said, I won't go see each band individually anymore because it's cost effective. And then they can knock it out with one thing. But obviously there's a lot of bands that are definitely worth repeated viewing.
Yeah.
But so the cruise, man, that cruise is really, it's taken the whole experience of concert going and just mingling with music fans to a whole other level. And
I've
even
heard so
the
many great
bands,
stories
dude,
from that, man.
yeah, it's something else, man. And even every year I'm in awe. I really am in awe. And when we talk to people, I'm like, man, I can't, I'm always kind of like at the point of like, man, just exhausted from just the sheer joy of being with these people and how much joy and fun, and they're just having the best time ever. And you're like, oh man, I can't believe we're part of this, we're creating this thing for them. And it feels really good, man. It feels really good. So yeah.
Well, I mean, for those of people that are listening and watching right now, like, why would you say it's so important to be on the side of the things that you're on right now, and to enhance the experience that they buy tickets for and show up for? Like, kind of give us some insight on like why you feel like that there is so much value, because I definitely know the value that you give to the live show experience. But for those who might not understand, like, why is it so critical to do what you do?
Because the customer is king. At the end of the day, look, man, it's about, at the end of the day, yes, we're in the music business, but it's customer service.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, you want to give the customer. There's a lot of choices out there in the world for entertainment. It's just not music and movies, gaming, whatever, Netflix. So you're battling for that dollar. And when people come to your show, you want to make sure by the time they enter that lobby with their ticket in hand, you hope that the box office experience then was good. For one, you always want to make sure that's a very clear, easy workflow for them. Get their ticket. Oh, here I'm Bob Smith. Great, here are your tickets. Thanks. Sign. Boom. They're done. They're not like waiting around for 10 minutes because a list hasn't gotten there yet. You want to make sure that experience is good for them when they come in and when they leave, because it's about customer retention. You want them to come back.
Absolutely.
I mean, listen, they're music fans and we love them for being music fans, supporting the act we're out with and supporting just live music and live entertainment. But too, man, this is a business and you want to make sure that you give them the best business because you want them to be interested. You want them to come back to the show. You want them to buy the t-shirt, because that's part of the experience. Who's buying the shirts? And it's like, well, it's a money thing. Yeah, it's a money thing, but it's part of the experience, man. You can have a ticket stub. That's great. But your shirt is like wearing your colors, man. Like that is your battle vest. And
I've got so many concert shirts. It's
oh, dude, listen,
my whole closet over here.
I did,
I had to buy a shelf.
I keep a few. Most of them I trade them out to people, or just give them to people, or like, take it, man. It's gonna mean more to you and me. I can't wear this anymore. I am my own brand. I'll just wear black shirts. I'm my own brand now.
Same. Yeah.
Yeah, and but dude, I think the customer service, because you know what, dude, it's like anything. It's like we love receiving gifts, but the joy is really in giving gifts. There's obviously some people out there, oh, I just love giving gifts. I'm like, yeah, you like giving them though? Like, no. I'm like, well, go to the side.
Yeah.
And I think giving a full evening of a great performance and a good customer experience and a good, whatever you want to call it, a bunch of fairy dust, that's super important, man. That's good karma for not only your band and your show and the venue, but just live music and the business as a whole. I mean, we have enough horror stories from bands saying the promoters ripped them off, didn't pay them that night, whatever. So just don't do your part in being that person. Do your part in making sure the experience is good. So again, I go back to the cruise experience there because they are paying a lot of money, but I care about these people now because I know them a lot more than I would just pulling into like Morristown, New Jersey, and playing a show. I
Yeah.
might see that person once or come across them. I'm always polite to strangers. That's how I've always been. I always want to be accommodating to them. But if I see someone multiple times and you get to know them because now you become friends, whether it's
Yeah.
online or they got your personal number, it's a whole different thing because now they're family at this point, and you want to make sure your family is always taken care of. And again, man, we want them to come back. We want them to like boast about us when they leave the ship.
Yeah.
Go,
Yeah.
man, they were fucking awesome. And if I had a problem, it was taken care of. Or if they couldn't take care of what I needed, they at least did something to kind of like soften the blow. And we expect that from the bands because the bands are freely roaming around with the fans, and that's another thing why people pay a lot of money. Is that bands are they're free to hang out with them, and it's so funny to when bands come on for the first time, they're a little gun shy about this whole idea of like mingling, but then like they don't realize that most of these people are adults and they're like, "Hey man, how are you? I love your band, blah blah blah," and that's the only time you're really gonna have that fan interaction. The rest of the time, it's gonna be like, "Hey, can I buy you a beer? You want a drink? Hey man, can I get a photo?" No big deal. It's like
Yeah.
there's no hassle from then on out. There's a few artists that stay, and I understand the reason they get a little anxiety.
For
They
sure.
stay in their rooms. There's no rule that says they have to come out and hang.
Yeah.
But for the younger bands, it's always beneficial because you want to build up your fans. And we always tell people, I said, once you come and play, those 3,000 people, A, know that you've been a part of their experience that they love. B,
Mhm.
they're going to follow you for the rest of your career. C, when you roll through their town, they're going 50 strong and
Yeah.
they will fly the Shiprock flag. And it'll be one of those game changer experiences for your band at a certain level, and even more so going and even going forward because it's the telephone thing. Like he told one person, so
Yeah.
you got a lot of people coming up, man, and we have that seems to be one of the things that's so intrinsic to the cruise is like these people are music fucking fans and they're loyal, they're brand loyal, man. If you're loyal to this cruise, they're loyal to your band,
Oh yeah.
and it's an amazing thing to watch, man. I'm thinking, man, who wouldn't want like an extra 50 fans per night in your playing when you're playing a club
Yes.
show in Cincinnati? You know?
For sure.
Yeah.
I can even
Yeah.
remember hearing a story about the time I forget which Shiprocked it was. You'll know whenever downstairs they had part of where they were in the bar and the ceiling kind of caved in.
Oh yes, the Papa Roach incident.
Yes. But about that, I remember hearing about the incident and I was like, oh man, I'm glad everybody was okay. But what
Yeah.
I took away from that was people who were on the cruise who were saying how professional, how accommodating, how polite everyone was after the fact, how quickly.
Sure.
And that was, to me, I've not gotten to experience Shiprocked yet. And, that sold it for me. If it wasn't for the band selling it already, that is what had sold it for me is how people were talking about something that could have been really horrible or a horrible experience after it happened. But
Now it's
people
just a
were like,
great story.
and now it's like a part of it. It's a chapter in the book of Shiprocked.
The lore. Well, dude, one of the
Yeah.
other great things, it's funny, we have these bands playing again with us. First time they came out was band Blacktop Mojo. They're starting to pick up steam. They're doing really well.
Those are great guys. Shout out to
Yeah,
Blacktop Mojo.
Shiprockers love them. Well, they played the first time they played. They went down into the hull of the boat where all the people who work on the boat live, and a lot of people like they're from like the islands or the Orient, or they're from wherever, man.
Yeah.
These are people who got on the boat to get away from where they're at. Well, they went down there and it almost felt like Titanic. Remember when like Leonardo DiCaprio went down and started dancing with all the gypsies in the hull of the boat? Yeah, well, they went down there and played like an acoustic set where like all these people are, and it was just like the most crazy, chaotic thing ever. Like the Blacktop Mojo's just down the hull of the boat playing for all the people working on the ship. And it was like great, man, because people are just so ecstatic.
Yeah.
Because it's so funny, like during the theater shows, if they get like a little break, you'll see like at the top of the stairs in the balcony, you see like 50 deep with their phones just doing this, capturing that little moment, like what was on our ship. Because next week they're going to have the old, blue hairs and playing Mahjong.
Yeah.
They're going to be back to regular cruising, not like this chaos that they're in the midst of. So, yeah, dude, man, there's some special shit that goes on. Again, that's part of the thing is like but that's what happens when you're weak at sea. You're going to run into chaos, man.
Absolutely. But I just love how the chaos was handled and all the fans that I was like watching.
Yeah, well, listen, safety and concern for everyone is obviously our rule number one. If it can be fun and be a joke made out of it, yeah, it's always great to walk away with that, thankfully.
Yes.
I mean, listen, we've had incidents where one of our shiprockers got one of our drones failed. one of our flying drones failed on a beach concert and hit him right in the face.
Ouch.
And it could have been bad, but you know what? He didn't say he laughed it off, but he was a good egg about everything, and we took care of him. And so he's been back. And so, like, you know, it's just one of those things that happens, man. It's like, you know, it's like, that's life. Sometimes things happen that are always great.
You know how they say,
but you know what, man?
Oh, I broke a leg at a metal show. It's like, that's so metal.
I took a propeller to the side of the face.
Yeah. That's so metal.
What? But yeah, man, he was great. He's great about it. And we just handled it the best, you know, with medical attention and everything. So it's like, yeah, man, listen, at the end of the day, it's a fun thing to do, but we're very professional about what we do.
Definitely.
So yeah. And that's the thing about the road too, man. It seems like a loose bunch of people, but at the end of the day, regardless of anything, these people are top-notch professionals at their gig. They've been doing it a long time. And so anything of those natures as far as concerns for safety and everything else, that's always job number one.
For sure. So I have to get to this last question, and I think it's everyone that's listening and watching right now, it's probably their biggest question if I had to guess. ShipRocked 2022. What is in store for everybody?
Well, that's a good question. From a perspective of sailing and everything that's going on in the world as far as the administrative aspect of COVID and vaccines, we don't know yet. That Carnival hasn't come to us yet with what's going on. Everything looks great right now. So I can tell you, as far as the music, obviously, if people have seen the lineup, we've never had some of these bands. We've never had Lamb of God on. What's a Lamb of God deck show going to look like? I couldn't tell you. Chaotic.
It's gonna be wild. Yeah.
It's gonna be heavy, super heavy. But a lot of fun. We have some, I don't know, man. You know what? It's going to be people who are so grateful to be back.
Yeah.
And the good thing though is there'll be a lot of festivals before then, so people are going to be used to going back to shows and a large crowds. But being on a boat for the first time is going to be something. There are a few boats, the music boats, going out before us in late in the fall, so it'll be a litmus test for how this is all done. But as far as the store, man, I couldn't tell you, dude, because every year I try to guess it, and I'm like, it just turns out either one way or another. All I can tell you, dude, from a staffing standpoint, is the last morning when everyone is shuffling off the boat, slowly, a single file leaving the boat, and our crew is worn out, man. We working 24 hours a day for 7 days straight. And the people coming off the cruise, they've just been drinking and partying for a week. But I'm the most fired up soul. It's crazy, dude. I'm like an 18-year-old cheerleader, man, as they're leaving. Everybody a high five. Everybody, I just give them like the warm feels as they're going off the boat, man, you know, because that's super important. So that's one thing that can expect me is like a super fired up Justin on the morning of the morning we're getting off the boat. And not because I'm happy to get on a boat, believe me, man. I can go from let's turn this fucker around, let's do this again.
Yeah.
But dude, it's so funny. So it's funny. One of my favorite moments of the year before last was like one of the guys that works on the boat with me, Al, who's like our operations guy, is like 3 o'clock in the morning running all over this massive ship with drunks all around us trying to find stanchions because we have to gather all the stuff because we have to return it to the rental company. So just going to every floor because people steal shit, they put it in their rooms, and it's like a game of Clue. Where is this shit?
Yeah.
At like 3 o'clock in the morning, man. I just love those. I love those moments, man. It's just, I wish I could, you got to be there kind of thing. I can explain it away. But yeah, man. But dude, as far as this business, people who want to get into this business, I was a late bloomer. I felt like I was like 33, 34 when I got into it. And just cause, and it wasn't like, oh, I can't, this is a young man's game. But yeah, it is, but it's not, because as long as you're like healthy and your mind is right and everything, and you take care of yourself, it's anyone's game. I mean, a lot of people that still run the business are older. They've been in the business since the 70s, late 60s, man. And my bosses were those guys, and they're still kicking. They're still working. They're still working for AG and Live Nation and all these big production companies, man. They're the decision makers still. So get in, and you can either decide you want to be in it for life, or you can just dabble around it for a while and then leave and go, that was cool.
Had a great experience, but
yeah, some people are looking for the static jobs. I mean, they want to stay home with I get it. They want to stay home with their family. That's a good thing about COVID. Now, a lot of people who needed to be home with their families finally got some time with them. So now their batteries are good, and they're ready to go out and crush it. but yeah, man, it's gonna be really interesting. As far as my story, man, I don't know. I'm taking it week by week, dude. Right now, I know all I know is I got a Shiprock thing here in a few hours, a Zoom thing or live stream. We're gonna basically, it's called Shiprock 101. People who haven't been on the cruise are gonna understand how you deal with luggage and travel and your transfers, just all the nuts and bolts things we forget about.
Yeah.
And then this week on Wednesday, we're talking to this new band for our podcast, band called Varsity.
Oh, those are great dudes. I'm
so them, and then we just
on this show. So
oh yeah, man, Bobby, they're again a young, hungry band, and they're going to be on the festival circuit. They're looking for ears, and people to talk with and kind of get their message out. So I'll keep cranking away at that, man. We've got Shinedown is finally has their fall dates in place. We're waiting to hear back from Nickelback and see what's going on with them. It's crazy. I got an article to write after we're done tonight. I mean,
it's a good problem to have.
It's a great problem, dude. And again, sometimes I sit there and when you're writing, especially, like, where's my muse, man? Like today, writing a description, because we just dropped our Aaron Jones stuff this week, and I had to write a description about what the interview was about. I'm thinking, man, where's my muse? I can't.
Yeah.
I can't write a paragraph here. What the fuck? But there's lazy, like, you probably get into a thing where, like, I don't want to edit any photos today. But there's days when you can go through 100 photos and nail them. It's an ebb and flow thing. But like you said, it's a great problem to have.
Absolutely. And it's a problem that I missed having. Like, I missed being able to, like, reach out to publicists and, like, reach out to this up and comer band and be like, hey, it's such a wonderful thing to have back, because we haven't been hitting it so hard lately. We've been kind of doing this back end thing with pressers and things like that. And now it's like, okay, well, we actually have a machine going, and let's keep the gears oiled. Let's keep this ball moving here. So I couldn't be more thrilled for you that ShipRocked 2022 is seemingly going well so far. That touring
so far so good,
back.
Man.
And hopefully, if you're going to be out with Shinedown, hopefully I'll see you in Louisville this fall.
I won't be out with them. I'll that's John's thing. I don't know if I'll be out with any of the bands we represent. So if I am out, it'll be someone else. But I'm always obviously working with them and keeping on top of things, and directing kind of the creative aspect of what we're doing with these bands and what we do for a living as far as in the security world. And as far as Shiprock, man, I'll just keep handling the socials there and coming up with these podcasts and whatever else we do, man. Anything they ask, I don't say no to a friggin' thing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. I have friends that are already on the cusp of, like, retiring. Man, I think I'm gonna retire. I'm like, man, I'm just fucking getting started, dude.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, man, fuck it. What am I do? What am I, just sit around, do nothing? No, I gotta keep going, man. This is fun for me, man.
Absolutely.
So yeah, it's all good.
Well, Justin,
Brandon,
I really
man.
appreciate it,
buddy. Appreciate the platform. I could talk forever, obviously. But,
absolutely. So could I. I just appreciate you giving our listeners and people watching, a little peek behind the veil, and find out some stuff that they didn't know, or maybe some stories that they heard from you and they want to maybe make their own stories later on. Buy that ticket. Make your own story.
Look, man, I mean, listen, if they're starting to dabble and want to do photography, go for it. Go shoot those local bands and get to know the local club guys, because those club guys will, I'm not saying become the house photographer, but I mean, go and say, hey, look, I got some some photos from this local band. Use them on your website. When a bigger band rolls through, you never know, right? You just keep shooting, shoot, and just get your skill. And it's not always about, we always think about, I got to go shoot this band because they're that band.
Yeah.
Go shoot the local fucking polka band. Just get your skill set down.
Definitely.
Learn how to shoot.
Definitely.
Right? So yeah, so there you go. That's my final word. Just keep fucking shooting.
Keep fucking shooting. You heard it from Justin, man. Just keep fucking shooting.
I'm gonna get that t-shirt. Keep fucking shooting.
Yeah. Copyright.
All right, brother.
Well,
listen, man. So best of luck and success with this, man. I'm stoked that you and publicists are working hand in hand and getting things done. It's growing your platform, growing what you're trying to do, and much success, man. I hope we can circle back on this a little bit later in the year and do a part 2.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Justin. And thank you guys so much for listening. So make sure you come check us out on iTunes, Spotify, Anchor, and of course, YouTube. So thank you guys so much for listening. Stay tuned for next episode.